Hi, it's Bridget with Life on Spectrum, and I'm continuing a conversation or a topic on sensory, but today I'd like to specifically concentrate on school. There are certain simple things that you could do at school to help your child with autism. Especially with the sensory issues, it can be very overloading in the classroom because of the lights and if it's one's flickering or if there's children laughing or playing in the different areas of the classroom. And especially if they have a rotation or a circular motion of some sort, sometimes it can be very disturbing for a student on the spectrum. So there's a few things that you could actually ask your occupational therapist or your physical therapist if they could do for them. Also, if they have an autistic support teacher, they can actually support you in this also. There's a few common typical things that you could do. Number one, I even have actually a rocker and a slider or a glider in my classroom that students always use. You can simply ask if you could bring one in or if they have one available. So if they need to, or he needs to, or she, they could actually take a few-minute break and actually rock or glide, especially during a storybook time or a time of rotation where students really wouldn't notice it anyway. And I bet you anything, more students would use it. I would also suggest trying to use a physical ball or like a medical ball or medicine ball. The ones that you use to work out on, believe it or not, he used that sometimes instead of a classroom chair. It allowed him to bounce a little bit, but make sure you put down guidelines or rules that you can't bounce too high. You have to stay, have both feet on the ground, and make sure you have some rules and settings for him to use that. But that will help with some of the sensory issues. It's not a hard surface, it's softer and it's cushiony. The other thing I would suggest is if there's an area in the classroom for a bean bag or a foam bag. Now, when my son was growing up, foam bags weren't a big deal yet. However, I actually created one, and it was more of a rectangular shape for him at the time, so he could almost like lay on it at the time. However, nowadays with memory foam, I'm sure there's bean bags and things out there instead of the beans, it's the actual foam. But if you have a bean bag or a foam bag, sometimes, and it's big enough for them, they can actually sink in, and it's like, once again, it's almost like that squeezing, and it actually relieves some of the sensory. So there's a few extra tips for you for the classroom. And if you have an IEP, make sure you put them on there. There's no harm in asking. And if worse comes to worse, get an advocate and they'll help you through it. Well, that's Bridget with Life on Spectrum. Thanks for watching that episode. And make sure you come back and join us again for upcoming videos. They'll be uploaded almost on a daily basis. Also, if you really enjoyed us, like us below, or even leave a comment for us to respond back to. And if for all of you that are really involved in the Life on Spectrum, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate you. We hope that this is worthwhile for you, and we'll see you next time on Life on Spectrum.